Imagine being part of an army that could conquer entire cities in a matter of days and leave their enemies trembling in fear. Well, that's exactly what the Mongol army did. With their unmatched horsemanship and tactics, they conquered much of Asia and Eastern Europe, leaving a lasting impact on the world. But how did they do it? Was brute force led to their success and helped them become one of the greatest military forces in history? The answer lies in their unique tactics and strategies, from feigned retreats that caught their enemies off guard to psychological warfare that broke the will of even the bravest soldiers. The Mongol army was unlike any other. Welcome to History Insight. Today we will be embarking on a journey back in time to the 13th century, when the Mongol Empire and its unparalleled war tactics, led by Genghis Khan, took the world by storm and created the largest contiguous empire in history. Historian Jack Weatherford, the author of Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World, put it perfectly when he said, "The Mongols created a military machine that was almost unstoppable." So buckle up and get ready to learn about the formidable tactics of the mighty Mongol army and how they shaped the course of history. Get ready to be amazed. Genghis Khan, born Temujin, was a leader of a small nomadic tribe in the steppes of Mongolia. Despite growing up in a time of political turmoil and warring tribes, Genghis Khan quickly rose to power, and by 206, he was proclaimed the Great Khan of the Mongol Empire. Under his leadership, Genghis Khan was able to unite the warring Mongol tribes through a combination of military force, diplomacy, and political manipulation. He then turned his sights outward, leading his armies to conquer much of Asia and Eastern Europe, creating a vast and powerful empire stretching from the Pacific Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. The secret to the Mongol Empire's military success lies in its art of organization. With a hierarchical structure, the Mongol army was a well-oiled machine, and at the helm were the Kurultai, military leaders hand-selected by Genghis Khan himself. These skilled leaders were responsible for devising battle strategies, leading the troops into battle, and playing a key role in the army's victories. Their cunning, experience, and raw talent were unmatched on the battlefield. So, what made the Mongol army so formidable? Well, the backbone of the army was its horsemen. These warriors were incredibly fast and nimble, allowing them to quickly cover vast distances and outmaneuver their enemies. But the Mongols didn't just rely on their horsemanship. They also had specialized engineering units that could build bridges, siege engines, and fortifications on the battlefield. The Mongol army was an intimidating force, striking fear into the hearts of its enemies, and it was all thanks to its strict discipline and promotion system. The soldiers were well-trained, well-equipped, and motivated, with a system that encouraged hard work, loyalty, and bravery. This strict discipline made the Mongol army a formidable force on the battlefield, cementing the legacy of the Mongol Empire as one of the greatest military powers in history. The Mongol Empire's intelligence network was top-notch, putting James Bond to shame. The Mongols were masters of espionage, gathering information from far and wide to give them the upper hand in battle. Their highly networked spies and information gatherers were trained to blend in and gather information from enemy territory, even opening the gates of besieged cities from the inside. But the Mongols didn't stop there. They utilized a unique communication system known as the YAM, which allowed for lightning-fast communication across vast distances. This system relied on a network of relay stations, where messengers would change horses and continue to the next station, allowing messages to travel at an astonishing speed of up to 180 miles per day. This allowed them to respond quickly to changing situations on the battlefield and make split-second decisions that could turn the tide of war in their favor. The YAM system was so efficient that it remained in use for centuries after the fall of the Mongol Empire. When it comes to ancient warfare, the Mongol Empire was truly ahead of its time. They had a secret weapon that allowed them to strike fast and hard, leaving their enemies in shock and awe. That weapon was their massive cavalry, which was made up of both light and heavy cavalry. The light cavalry, known as the Mongol bowmen, were incredibly skilled archers and could fire arrows while riding at full speed. The heavy cavalry, known as the keshiks, were heavily armored and armed with lances and maces. This combination of light and heavy cavalry made the Mongol army incredibly versatile and able to adapt to different battlefield situations. The heavy cavalry would charge into battle first, breaking through enemy lines, while the light cavalry would follow and rain arrows down on the enemy. This tactic was incredibly effective and allowed the Mongols to conquer much larger and more powerful armies. Now let's talk about something cool, the use of petroleum-based weaponry in battle. Yes, you heard that right. The Mongols were innovators in the field of warfare and utilized flammable liquids like petroleum to create devastating weapons. They could hurl burning balls of petroleum at their enemies, creating chaos and destruction on the battlefield. Their strategy of flight and the relentless barrage of arrows they used to defeat their enemies were simply unmatched. The Mongols were masters of psychological warfare, but the constant rain of arrows raining down on their enemies was enough to demoralize even the bravest of soldiers. When it comes to warfare, the Mongols weren't just all brawn, they also had a strategic brain. In addition to their impressive military organization and tactics, the Mongols were known for their clever use of psychological warfare. The Mongols knew that a battle could be won or lost before it even began. They used rumors and psychological tactics to demoralize their enemies, spreading fear and uncertainty among their ranks. They would spread false rumors about their own strength or the weakness of their enemy, causing confusion and disunity in the opposing army. The Mongols were also masters of creating fear through the spread of death and destruction. They would destroy entire cities and leave no survivors, creating an aura of invincibility that instilled fear in their enemies. This fear not only weakened their enemies, but also made them more susceptible to surrender, allowing the Mongols to capture territory with minimal resistance. Finally, the Mongols were known for their use of illusions and trickery on the battlefield. They would create human-sized dolls and bonfires to mimic a larger army, tricking their enemies into thinking they were surrounded by a much larger force. These psychological tactics, combined with their military prowess, made the Mongol army a formidable force to be reckoned with. So far, we have learned that the Mongol Empire was known for its incredible military tactics and strategies. But did you know that the Mongols were not afraid to employ unconventional methods in battle? That's right, they used everything from cats and dogs to plagues to defeat their enemies. Let's start with the feline and canine arsonists. During sieges, the Mongols would tie pots filled with flammable substances to the backs of cats and dogs and release them into the city. The animals, naturally curious, would run around and knock over the pots, causing widespread fire and destruction. It was a terrifying and effective tactic that often broke the spirit of the defenders. Next, we have the use of bacteriological warfare. The Mongols were known to throw bodies infected with the bubonic plague over city walls in order to spread the disease. This often created panic and weakened the population, making it easier for the Mongols to take control. It's important to note that these tactics were often seen as dishonorable and unethical by their enemies, But to the Mongols, the end justifies the means. They were a conqueror's empire, and they would stop at nothing to achieve their goals. The Mongol Empire, led by Genghis Khan and his descendants, had a profound impact on the world, shaping the modern world in ways that are still felt today. Their empire connected Asia, Europe, and Africa, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technology. They also played a key role in the spread of Buddhism and other religions, and had a major impact on the development of the Silk Road. Their innovative use of cavalry, psychological warfare, and communication systems was unmatched by any other army of their time, and even today, the Mongols' military tactics and strategies were so advanced that they continue to be studied and analyzed by military academies and think tanks. The legacy of the Mongol Empire is one that continues to shape the world to this day. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode of History Insight. We hope you have learned something about one of the largest and strongest empires in history. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and follow our channel for more interesting historical content.